Hey everyone, welcome. Today we are going to learn about the observer pattern, how we use it and why we use it. So here I have a simple UML diagram loaded which shows the example which we are going to implement in Unity in order to explain the observer pattern. So here I have the main class which basically asks our program to do something. So let's focus on the observer area. The observer is basically an abstract class that is being extended by these three classes: binary observer, octal observer, and hexa observer. These simply convert the numbers to binary, octal, and hexadecimal system, and all of them have the subject and an update function which is part of the abstract class. Now this subject will have a list of all the observers, and each time we are going to set the state, we will notify all observers that a new state has been set, and in turn all of these will update themselves. So let's look at this in practice. Let's open up Unity. Okay, once Unity is loaded, we are going to create our first class based upon this UML, and that is our observer class, which is an abstract class. So let's create our first script and let's call it observer. One thing I would like to point out is that observer pattern is already implemented inside Unity. Basically, in the way when we say that we have an event, a Unity action, or a normal action, that is basically using the observer pattern and the logic behind it. And here we will focus on how it basically works. So first of all, we'll create our abstract class observer, and inside this class, according to our UML, we have basically a subject, which is this one, and an update function. So let's do that. First of all, we will create a public void update function, and this should be abstract. Next, here we need to create our subject, but for that let's create the subject class first. So let's go to create script and let's call this subject. Now this subject needs to have a list of observers and a state, so let's do that. So this subject is a normal class that will have a public list of observers and a public or a protected integer state. Let's make this list private, and then according to our UML, as you can see, we have these functions: get state, set state, attach, and notify. So let's create them. First of all is going to be our public integer get state, and this is simply going to return the state. We have the set state, this would simply set the state, and then we have add observers, which is going to add an observer, and finally we will have a remove observer, which is going to remove the observer which we pass, and of course we need a method to notify all observers, and this will basically for each observer in observers. And here we would basically say that observer dot update, as simple as that. And when we set the state, we want to notify our observers that a state has been set, so we'll call notify all observers. But here the notify all observers should take in the subject that it wants to notify. So here we'll see subject. Oh no, we don't need the subject since this subject already has a list of observers. So then we would create here a public subject. So this is going to be a public subject. And now we basically need to create the observers. So let's create simple observers for now, just for the sake of this tutorial. So let's create a class A and another class B. Let's open these up. So our class A is going to implement our observer, and we need to implement the abstract classes. And in the update, we are going to show a simple message which is going to say class A update has been called. This will be called whenever we set the state. And of course we need a constructor, a public class A, and this constructor is going to set the subject. So this would basically say that subject, not here or here, subject, and this would say that this dot subject is equal to the subject of the observer class, this one. And then we need to add the observer to the subject as well. And this is the basic setup which we require in the other class as well. So we will just copy this and open the class B and simply paste it here, and we are going to change this to class B, and we are going to say class B update has been called. So this is the setup which we require, and here now we are going to create a new mono behavior script in order to test. So let's create a script called test observer, and let's just attach it to any empty object or our main camera. So let's just attach it to our main camera and open it up. So here, first of all, what we basically need is our subject. So subject equals to new subject, and now we need to create new class A. This is going to be observer, and this is going to listen to the subject. New class A. Okay, I forgot one thing, which is, since this is a mono behavior, we should do all of this inside the start function, and we are going to say new class A subject and a new class B subject. Now these two classes are listening to this subject. Next is we need to set the state. when we set the state, since we used an integer value because our class diagram was for the purpose of converting numbers into these formats, octal, hexa and binary, but we are making it simple, so here just pass a value of 15, it doesn't matter. And once we have set the state, this will in turn notify all observers that a state has been set, and all the observers will run their update function. So let's hit the play button, and we should be able to see a debug message which is that class A update has been called and class B update has been called. Another thing we can do is, for instance, our test observer, we added this new class B subject. So let's just save these in a variable, class A equals this, and class B equals this, and finally we would basically say that subject dot remove the observer, we remove class A. So now the update function of the class A would not be called. As you can see, only class B update has been called. So this is the basic way in which an observer pattern works. Now this same pattern, we don't need create all of these were just for the sake of explanation. This already exists inside Unity in the form of Unity action, Unity event, a normal action, a C# action, and a C# event. So all of these are basically all of these have already implemented observer patterns, and I'll explain all these in another tutorial, but I hope the idea of how the observer pattern works is clear, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.